Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you much for being here. My name is Tony Carroll. So this is the first of the long-awaited Tony Carroll's weekly webinar. It's classed just as a meeting to begin with, but from next week on, it'll be proper webinars that will cater for up to 500. I've sent out on the Tony Talks channel and Telegram if anyone here isn't a member on that, you please join. I'll be recording this and sharing this to those participants and to the Tony Talks community. Moving forward, things are going to rapidly evolve because I'm in good contact with the likes of Anna and understanding what's happening through the likes of Hunter and GFG and Adrian as well, Judge Adrian. So I've got, I'll be in an advantageous position to be able to share information even before the latest information before it goes out on the American webinars on a Monday night, which is not feasible for a lot of people in Europe and South Africa. And a lot of people have to either stay up very late or wait for the recording. So Sunday evenings looks like it's going to be the time and day that we're going to do this on a weekly basis. But we believe it's going to evolve into more than once weekly and twice weekly. This recording will go on to the Tony Talks YouTube channel. Again, if you haven't subscribed, we'll get the link to you. And that's where the recordings will be initially posted and published and also shared then through the Tony Talks channel. And the main purpose, as I've already shared on the slide deck, the main purpose of this is as people have a lot of questions and we have to rely on, whether it's through assemblies and even coordinators have to then wait on communication from Anna or knowing what's going on with GFG. So I decided to do this a while ago. I'd planned to do it before Christmas. Apologies about the mix-up a couple of times, including the other day. So I ended up, that had to be just an initial meeting for the coordinators, the International Assembly Coordinators Network. And moving forward, we'll be having specific meetings just with the coordinators and Anna moving forward. But as you know, Anna's obviously extremely busy, but she's in really good spirits. I spoke to her last night. They're having some incredible snow, and which you would expect in Alaska, but she's in really good spirits. We had a great laugh because she said she started to do squats exercises for the first time. So we had a great laugh about that. I told her she shouldn't do that on her own in case she couldn't get back up. So she wasn't too impressed with that, but we had a good laugh. She said she thought her dog and the cat were even laughing at her doing that. But the funny side of it has a serious side. She's taking care of herself and looking after herself more, which we would all agree we're delighted to hear. So just to recap, so the purpose of this is to share updates, whatever updates I have, on a weekly basis, possibly then on a bi-weekly basis. I've shared the topics that we're going to share that information, or the topics that the information will cover. That includes the very popular and common questions around what's happening regarding GFG, the prosperity side, the banking side, the vendor side, the questions then in relation to land recording and publishing for those that have done their paperwork or status correction or doing their paperwork, updates on where things are at in that globally, because I would have some good updates to share on that information. How the monetary side works, because obviously it's not as easy for some to get their head around. I've just been given some updates which I got there earlier on, which is quite positive, which I'm happy to share during this. So I'm going to split this moving forward. The way it's going to work is we're going to have a certain amount on each webinar to cover those main 4 areas. So I class it as healing, as you know what I mean. It's all related to health, wellness, healing, consciousness, all that. The second area is the prosperity side, which includes GFG, includes AFD master accounts, includes how what's happening on the fiat side, or what's happening in the system, so to speak. And there's a lot happening on that people wouldn't be aware of. That makes a lot of sense when you understand things. So we'll be sharing information on that. And the third is in relation to the assemblies, self-governance, what's happening there, just to give a broad spectrum. And we'll be touching on great things that are initiatives that are out there, such as the TASA are doing great work, and Darren has an assembly structure group going for those that want to get involved or build their assembly. So we'll be sharing information on all that. And then finally, for those who have an idea or who have products or services who want to know more about bringing products and services out to the network, the community, both through the land and soil community and also outside of that through GFG's vendor network, etc. So that's under the area of business. So that kind of covers quite a lot. But I'm going to use this opportunity to begin with, actually, to do something which I hadn't planned to do because there's so many burning questions. I've already had some emails, some very, very relevant questions, but I know what the most important question for most people is where are we at on the GFG? So I will start off by just clearing up that and give you what I know. So then what I'm going to do is after that, I'm going to open it up and give people an opportunity to share through the chat initially what are the main areas of information that you want to know about that may not be being covered at the moment and are being covered under those areas. But it does those topics really do cover most, as you would probably guess or assume. So moving forward, what we have at the moment with the, let's say, the monetary side, there's a number of reasons why, let's say, things have been have not happened as quickly as people expect. So just to understand things, you have the Anna in her role as fiduciary. She has authority over in her role over the lawful government, the American government, Federation, and the Union of States, of which there are 50 state assemblies restoring their own governments in America, and then you have all the other countries and nations who are also declaring their restoring their true governments on the land and soil jurisdiction. So Anna has authority over all of that as fiduciary. To my count, there's about 74 nations who have, at the very least, called their assembly into session. There's others in the process. So I would expect by the end of the year, we will definitely have 100 nations, which is very, very significant, who have assemblies that have been called into session. But just going back to understanding, let's say, the whole area of the money side, let's say you just use that term. So Anna has that authority. And as we know, land and soil is where the living souls have the authority over other jurisdictions and including the corporation. So by right, lawful trumps legal. So trade trumps commerce. So that's Anna really, in terms of her role, has as the ultimate authority. She also has authority over the lawful assets, and there has been a lot of assets already reclaimed and repatriated. And I know we'll end up talking about that at some point as to, well, how does that work in terms of GFG? But just breaking it down into her kind of side of things. So she's on the lawful land and jurisdiction side. You have then Hunter, who's kind of the bridge and used his formula in terms of what he's come up with his formula back in the day after his life-changing event in whenever it was, 2006 or 7. I could be wrong on that. And his life-changing event then helped him to come up with the formula that he believes underpins or needs to underpin how we can resonate in harmony with the consciousness, with God, with nature and with the earth, and how he could then build a totally new prosperity system, he likes to call it, not a banking system, that provides the bridge between the lawful and legal side, or the trade and the commerce. So the lawful assets and the commercial assets. And there is no other way of doing it. There needed to be a bridge, and there needed to be technical infrastructure created on the lawful side, which, as I've explained, Anna has authority over, and then on the commercial side. Now we'll talk about that because that's probably the grey area, and most people that are involved in assemblies, etc., don't really want to have an awful lot to do with that. And we eventually, that is the plan, is that we will do away with all of that BS and all of that funny money stuff and artificial matrix, rigged commodities and rigged markets and manipulated markets and fraudulent criminals at the very top that have been using the energy and the labor and the consciousness of the people to fool us into believing that there is a system of value and monetary system of value there when there hasn't been. We are the value. We put the value into everything. Without us, there is nothing. So in that sense, also, we are responsible for what has been created. And I want people to take that into consideration when you talk about, being the victims or being the creators. Without us, they couldn't do it. And but on the commercial asset side, where the commercial banks are, where the legal, all this BS 10,000 legislations or these thousands of legislations that have been man-made to again to control the people and to trick us through the birth certificate fraud of creating our own, thinking that we are sovereign and we have been treated as sovereign entities, living souls, which we all know we haven't been. So you need those three to work together. What's happened up to now is that we've had Hunter and his team have done incredible work, and I don't think people are going to fully appreciate the work that has been done until you see this working. So we do recognize that it's still a bit uncertain for people. So if you just go back to their role as being the bridge to bring everything together, and so you have Global have created their international trade bank, wholly owned subsidiary commercial bank, and then the Bank of Commerce, which also has a banking side, which is dealing with the commercial entities, the commercial banks, which is needed to be able to interact with the systems that have been there. Now, obviously, this is where Hunter and his creation and with Anna have come up with their own incredible lawful systems, and in terms of InstaPay and the gift card scheme and the vendor network, which has all been able to enable people to trade. But at the same time, there is the commercial side. There is assets there that we have been using. There is commercial banks that we have been using and tricked in them for years, for many centuries. We thought they were here to provide services for us, but they're not. They're here to provide services for the shareholders in these banks, for the treasuries, the central banks, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the British Crown, the Vatican Corporation, all those people at the very top. That's who they're doing what they're doing, providing services for. We're they're using our labor and energy to commit the fraud. And now the great thing is so many people are waking up. Everyone here is, I'm sure, awake to all of that, so I don't need to go into any of that. So but in terms of where we are on the prosperity side, so just you have the lawful assets, which Anna has reclaimed. She's worked with very closely, obviously, with Hunter on things. Her and Hunter and Adrian have been working together, but Adrian is more working on how he can actually get control of the assets from within the system. And a lot of people don't really get that yet, or maybe have not had enough information. So what they had to decide over the last number of years, and especially since they've had contact, is how do we do this? Do we do this, by waking people up and getting them our assemblies going, which is the ideal way, and getting the numbers up so that, once we reach, figures that have been mentioned to me, once we reach certain figures, the system collapses. So I'm talking about the matrix system and the commerce system as we know it. So the strategy was, do we get focused on the assemblies? But of course, assemblies then need support, they need funding. We need to get the message out there, which is one thing that I've been asked to get out there to people while we're waiting. And I'll give you some information on kind of when to expect things to open up on the GFG side based on the information that I've got. And but while we're waiting, there's two things that we can do. And apart from working obviously on keeping our head above water, which most people are doing their very best to, working on yourself, which is why we're going to put a big focus on how you can actually become a complete conduit and a channel for what you want to create and what what has been holding you back, understanding how we are all the creators, and we are all connected to the creator, to God above, and consciousness. And then you have the mental side of things, the mental plane, which is where we bring our intentions and out there, and then they manifest in the physical. So we're going to go through things on the healing end of things, of how we can actually all get into that space where literally things happen like a duck to water, and these obstructions and these challenges that people are having every day in their life, you'll start to attract naturally the right people, the right opportunity, the resources for yourself. Let's forget about GFG and everyone else, just for yourself. So there is going to be an emphasis over the next few weeks on helping people over the next, say, 3 weeks. There's a 21-day protocol which has been put together to help if people want to join in this. This is going to help people get into that space of flow where things start to flow. And it's magic when you get into that state. And we'll be going through that through the healing end of things after this webinar and next week. So that's the first thing. People can really do wonders by working on that. And the second thing, which I've been asked to share in the meantime until things are opened up, but there is good news to share on that, so just bear with me, is to actually get the word out there. Now, I know people have done their best to talk to friends and family, and most people are like, oh, well, this is, if the money, you said the money is going to be here and people are going to be, it's much deeper and much bigger than that. But so for that reason, when we had a meeting the other day, I said the message that we need to simplify the message so that everybody can talk and share the solution, the summary of the solution, the summary of the problem, and how we're going about to reach the end game, which is ultimately that people can self-govern their life. They can achieve true freedom, peace, prosperity, abundance, and all those wonderful things. So there's a summary that we're going to be, or that I'm going to be sharing, that I've been working with Anna, and she's been getting Hunter's advice on this, and also talking to Adrienne, and then on Wednesday I'll be talking to the coordinators about this. So we're going to mean that everybody, no matter who it is, or no matter who you are, what stage you're at, that you can communicate a summary of what the fraud is, what the problem has been, which is around the global fraud, what the solution overall, and this is obviously a big solution and a big to a big problem, the biggest of its kind. But we're going to simplify that, and then how we're going to achieve it. So that's the second thing. Now, in relation to the prosperity end of things. So getting back to the strategy, and the reason I'm explaining this is that it will help you maybe understand, whichever you prefer saying, why we have had our GFG and Anna and Hunter and that have had the challenges. You've got multiple things going on here that have been doing their best to stop the lawful, and I will say legal on their side, the legal repatriation and of assets. So it's all been approved, let's say recognized at the highest level. But you're asking, well, why has it not? Because these people have control of the logistics. They have control through the commercial banks of the logistics of access to the systems that has been controlling the monetary side of things and the assets that are belonging to the people. So although there's been recognition and evidence and to the Vatican Chancery by Anna and Adrienne through the Universal Commercial Code courts and international courts and whatnot, and Anna through the world courts, ultimately they still have control of their logistical side and the enforcement. There is something very significant that's currently going on at the moment that is actually going to enforce things. And I can't give an awful lot of information except to say this has given me great excitement and optimism that we would expect. You've seen information or rumors going out around by the end of February. I hate giving dates out, but I would expect, based on the information, that there is going to be funding. And there is funding for those who are assisting in helping to, for the assemblies, those that are helping to repatriate, those that are obviously in great need of for those, for example, that have their homes being repossessed or at threat of repossessed. There is going to be funding over the next couple of months for sure. Now, and I know that still may disappoint some people because people are thinking, well, it was told it was last year and the year before. I get all that. But I want to say that Anna, who's been the main guide on this, has only gone on what she knew at the time, and then the commercial banks and the others would start putting a scupper into things when they've gotten an order, whether they've gotten recognition from the various international courts, etc. Then the commercial banks will continue because they've accessed control over their logistics and operations to stop the assets coming back to the people. And that's what the big push is to get the assets out of the commercial banks, out of the central banks and treasuries, so that it can fund and capitalize GFG. You've got obviously assets that have been reclaimed from Anna's perspective, including the 279 trillion commercial lien on the American Bar Association, which was the start of it. But then much more than that, you've got obviously then the various trusts, including the Villa Family Trust, the Saint Germain Trust, the Alpha Omega Trust, that have unbelievable amount of assets that will and credit that will last people their lifetimes and generations to follow. So this is all ahead of us, and on the basis of information that I've got, um, um, within the next 2 months, it would be almost certain that there is funding. There is going to be funding. That's what I've assured. There is going to be funding, and now where they're at the moment is, and Hunter is ready to start opening things up. But in terms of the funding and how it's going to work, it's still a bit uncertain. But there is funding going to and credit going to be released through what they're doing and what they've done. But what they were really hoping for and what they were doing from Adrian's side and etc. was to look at the big massive trust that had all these assets, is to get the corporations and the commercial banks to do what they've legally been told to do. Otherwise, we could do it lawfully, but in order to do it lawfully, we have to have our courts. We have to have our own assemblies and lawful governments, and we have to have the numbers in them. So that's why it's a multi-hybrid, multifaceted approach where between those three very important people and people assisting them and people around them, they're looking at all different avenues of getting the commercial banks and the central banks and the treasuries and all them to finally do what they've been legally. And I'm saying legally because their own system, their own court system, has recognized the assets in these trusts are for the people. So it's literally a matter of forcing these and also using what assets that have been already reclaimed or in the process of being reclaimed. And you've got work going on in Australia, which I've been told, and Africa, and there's over 70 nations now that have come together to reclaim just assets under one very, very powerful trust. And these assets will have enforcement capabilities as well through international courts and international criminal court orders. So, or court order. So, based on all of that, I've been, although again, you know what it's like. It's really hard to tell people a date when you've got these opposition, these people that are doing everything in their power to stop the release of these funds, which they legally are obliged to do. But now with this enforcement, they're going to be individually held, excuse me, individually liable and enforced to do. So that's why things are really happening on that front. But just on that, that's just an enhancement of what Hunter and Anna have done. So as I said, within the next couple of months, there is going to be funding available. So on that basis, I can definitely safely say that I've been informed by March, by the middle to the end of March, and I know that's still quite late for some people. There is going to be funding, and there is, without a doubt, there is going to be funding there because they're working out what they've done already and trying to enhance that with the enforcement of these other assets from this other massive trust, which will enable the funding of all the assemblies, all the individual GFG accounts, and so that there is enough basically assets and credit to go around. Once these are repatriated and once these other trusts are repatriated, there's credit there, as I said, to last lifetimes and generations to follow. And so it's not because anyone is holding anything back. It's not because anybody's delaying it. Nobody wants to delay things. It's the other side that have been delaying it. But now, based on what's been done to date and what's happening in relation to the enforcement of this other assets within this other massive trust that's happening and getting support from over 70 nations. There's absolutely no shadow of a doubt there's going to be funding over the next couple of months. So that's what I would like to say. I will open some questions on that, and because I know that's probably the most burning question, and then we can then open the floor to getting people to send or put in the chat. If there's loads of people with loads of questions, it's going to be a bit more difficult. So I'm going to, after this, ask people just to put in the chat what their main areas of information or knowledge that they want to learn. That will really help them. So on that basis of what I've just shared, I'm going to open that up because that is probably the most burning question and offer people the opportunity of putting their hands up.
We do not hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Tony. Thank
Okay. Willem has asked the question, when is the GFG goes live? Um, okay. I have just given a big summary there. Is everybody saying you couldn't hear me?
you. No, we could hear you. I think they just got confused when you went quiet to read the comments. So I think Willem's question is specifically about going live in South Africa.
Okay, great. Sorry, I got worried there thinking you hadn't heard anything I just said there. Um, so that was really going to set me back a bit. All right, let me see if who's asked. Okay, so Willem, the question you ask is obviously very valid for your own. It's going to be opened up for everybody. There is, by the sound of it, I know Anna said that there's going to be no public announcement. However, I've been informed now there is going to be some form of announcement, and that's going to be. I've been told people are still going to be asked to keep an eye out, logging on, but there is going to be some indication of an announcement closer to it. I can only share with you that I've been basically assured there's going to be funds within the next 2 months. And I know that, as I said, is disappointing to some, but at least if you use that as a guide, I've been given those, as close to assurances as possible because I know a lot of people have been waiting. We've all been waiting, some more than others, but this has been everybody's been waiting. I mean, people can't understand how Anna is going to be the last. Within reason, she, as fiduciary, the American people have to be, sorted out first. But of course, she's going to get plenty of help. To answer your question, Willem, everybody is going to get it or at the same time, and that's my understanding of that. Will you have a replay link so we can listen to this again? Yes, Kevin, absolutely. That will go on to as I said, it'll go on to the YouTube channel. So that's the first place it will be published, on the YouTube channel. I haven't been using or updating the channel much. That's where there's webinars that I had with Anna. So that's where it will be. It's Tony Talks channel on YouTube. We'll share the link. I will share the link on the Telegram group, and we'll share the actual, the video on the Telegram group, but that will be published on the YouTube channel. So we ask everyone to subscribe to that. Okay. loud and clear from How about what to do with an encounter with LEOs with a warrant or a warrant without a judge's signature? Who is that from? That's from Sherman. So on that front,
Thank you, Tony.
hello, Sherman. Okay, I'm going to. That's in the in the second section. I just want to just cover just. I will take note, and I will ask Esmari and Sharissa to take note of that, and I will come back to that. I just want to talk in relation to just on the aspect of the GFG, the prosperity, etc., going live first. If you don't mind, Sherman, I will come back to that. Okay, is that all right, Sherman?
Yes, loud and clear, Tony. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem. Once years go, is there an approximate time frame for it to receive the QR code? I have no clue about that. All I've been really focusing on is trying to narrow down a time because I recognize from both sides. I'm very aware of the work and the stress the people like Anna and Hunter and their team and Adriana and others, they have the weight of us all on their shoulders. I want you to please just try and appreciate that. I can assure you they're all on our side. They're on the right side. They all have the same end game, but they're all doing their own individual incredible work. And obviously none more so than our shining light and Anna. And so yeah, in relation to the QR code cards, if that is on the basis of those assurances, 2 months to have funding, that the QR codes would have to, and the information, which is why we saw the Prosperity Tools modules are due to go live at the end of February. So it makes sense because that's going to be the case for a couple of weeks, where people will have the opportunity to learn all about the Prosperity Tools from the end of February, which would lead into, ironically, St. Patrick's Day, my own country's so-called National Day, which by all accounts seems to be not too far a date around when there is going to be funding there for people. So, but I will keep, as we go along, I will share whatever information I can through the webinars every week. So I will also take note of the QR code and the cards. What I do know is that because of the numbers, because of obviously the huge amount of interest in all this, especially when things kick off in terms of the assets having liquidity and being able to convert, they are going to do this digitally first. And just so people understand, they had to make a decision a good few years ago between Anna and Hunter, especially, and Federation, and in communication with the American state assemblies, etc. But mainly from a monetary and lawful side of things, they had to make a decision how they were going to do this. Hunter, from very beginning, knew about decentralized technology, which is the blockchain, in other words, and how that is very powerful. And I knew from the very beginning blockchain was very powerful because it helps to collapse the centralized control systems that of the pyramid systems that you have a few controlling the masses. I always knew that we had to turn that upside down. Or we had to, as the blockchain does, it expands it out so that the community, whatever community that is, has control over decisions. It's immutable. The blockchain data that is used on a decentralized community can't be controlled by just a few or one computer or whatever. It's a mass network of computers, and the data is controlled by the community. So decentralized is the way to go. So on that basis, Hunter, from the very beginning, knew that he needed to create a decentralized platform for the people, for the 8 billion people, so that it wasn't just Hunter and a few controlled the banking, the prosperity, or Anna or others. It's the communities, so the nations, the people themselves. So that's where you have the digital end of things, and that's where they created the digital coin known as the eHarmony coin. So in order to have lawful money, which the lawful notes in the American Federation go back, notes and coins and currency, and you have the silver coinage, and then the prepaid credit off the back of the silver, and you have the AFD off the back of the gold assets that have been repatriated. You need a digital something digital to be able to be, again, that bridge between the lawful side of things in terms of trading those assets against the commercial legal side. And that's where the eHarmony comes into it. So you'll be converting your lawful assets through the eHarmony coin. The AFD will be converted into an eHarmony coin, and an eHarmony coin will be converted into the digital currencies, whether that be US dollar, and then into your respective fiat currencies. So that's basically how the exchange, very, very simply, how it works. So they had to make a decision and realize that it's the quickest way to help people to get out of debt, to get access to their ancestral credit, their heritage coin and prepaid credit, was to have a digital platform. It's obviously just like the internet. It's making the most of the internet. It's making the most of blockchain, and it's the quickest and easiest way to help people to get access to that. If you're going to be relying on obviously setting up all our own physical coinage and notes as well for all the nations, and then having to create a banking system for those physical transfer of assets, it would not work. It takes too long. So that's why the digital end of things. I know people get suspicious when they hear that we've got a digital token and a digital system, but this has been designed by good people, the very best. So we've got a digital platform. We've got a decentralized platform on a blockchain that's been created by Hunter and his team. So they're not relying on any other blockchain providers, of which there are many. For example, you've heard of Ripple. So Ripple is the main decentralized finance provider of cryptocurrency, their own cryptocurrency and blockchain technology through their own blockchain platform. And they're at the heart of the central bank's digital currency. So they've been the ones, they've waited a long time for this. So they're the ones are not on the good side. So whereas GFG are on the good side, and they've created their own blockchain. So that's also just giving you an explanation of how it works. So let me kick on. Is there any on the med beds? Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But just if there's anything else on the Mike, say Paddy's is your born day. I love it. Your mother should have called you Paddy and not Mike. And greetings. Thanks, Tony. Trust you. Well, brother, thank you very much. So anybody else want to ask anything? I know a lot of people want to talk about. Okay, hi, Tony. Can you clarify what's the vouch account is open? Sorry, Ricardo, what does it mean by vouch account is open for deposit, and how we can transfer to the account?
Most probably the vault.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So yes, the vault account is still open, and what I've been told is the one-to-one exchange is still open, and the whole purpose of the vault account is to, as Anna said, one of the main overall purposes of the prosperity banking system was to provide a safety net for when the inevitable crash happens, and on that basis, they also wanted to provide real value for we've given value to this funny money fiat currency. So if people still have, I know not everybody has much sitting there that they can dispose of, so to speak, but this is for money that you don't essentially need right now, and that you can deposit into your own safety deposit vault, and that's still live, and the one-to-one exchange is still live. So yes, you can still transfer. We're going to be having this reminds me. So I'm opening up a site which is going to allow you to put in at any time during the day. This is going live through the Tony Talks. You're going to have a portal that you can just type in a question, and it will actually explain. So let's say if it's in relation to GFG or the banking, you're just going to type it in, and it explains the process to whether that's to open a safety deposit vault, a vendor account, how the vendor is going to work. So you're going to get an awful lot of information from that, but we will touch on this as much as possible on the next Zooms. Okay, so the heritage dollar. Okay, so this is from Tony in terms of the. So Okay, my understanding is I'm going to read this out because this come directly from Anna because I had asked that very valid question. So if you just bear with me, I will open this up. I don't want to get this information wrong. Okay. Da, 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 da. Okay, let me just come back to that one. Mike, if you just bear with me, I'm going to come back to that question because it's a bit confusing actually. I had emailed actually Anna about this and I'm looking at the reply and it's not making sense to me. So if you just bear with me, Mike, I'm going to come back to you on that if that's okay. So that's your question as Maria and Sharissa, if we could just take note of. I am seeing a response, but I hadn't really read it, and it's not making sense to me there now. So let me come back to you on that, if that's okay, Mike. Sorry. All right. So what's the next one? Sorry about that, Mike. I will come back to you on that. No idea of when the Zim bonds will be exchanged. So again, we'll come back to you on that one. Account to account. What do you mean by account to account, Sherman? You might explain what that means. Um, oh, you mean in terms of transfer of AFD to AFD or master account to master account? Is that what you mean? If you could just clarify that. Katja, you got your hand up, love, and I'll come back to those other couple of questions there in terms of account to account. Katja, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Tony. Good evening, everybody. About your first question, what would we like to, which information would we like to? You parted in several themes. Thank you very much for that. But the last one, I think, is the most important one, that is starting a business.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is to create our own system. And at that point, we wouldn't be expecting so much from fiat or from the old system. And we could start doing commerce between us, and you know all the advantages that that has. Could we start with that, Tony? I don't know what the other people think about it. While we wait for the money to come and to negotiate, because all that information can come to the group, you know. But as a training, I think it would be very nice to start with vendors and how to create a business. Thank you. I yield.
Absolutely. I know there's the last information I had was that there's approximately 756 or thereabouts new vendor accounts that have been created, or it's either new vendor accounts being created. I'm just looking back to the information I was shared there recently, or there's 750 odd that are waiting to be recreated. There was a whole big influx of new applications. GFG had to make some technical changes then to the vendor software. So they asked the land recording secretaries and those who were helping to set up the vendor accounts to hold off on creating any new ones. I mean, before Christmas, you probably remember, Katja, and those remember that we were actually a good bit before Christmas, and it was indicating a couple of months before or thereabouts, October, November, that the the vendors would be open for exchanging of products and services and start trading. It is probably you're completely right. It's one of the most important things that needs to happen because we want to stop relying on the old outdated system, which we want to move away from. But in terms of the vendor, I think what we discussed, I discussed this with, I think it was Mookie or whoever it was recently. There's nothing stopping us, for example. Well, any people can obviously start to get themselves set up. I'm just going to check after this if the technical issues is sorted, so people can get them set up with their own shop front on GFG. So you would have your own, looks like your own, online shop, e-commerce platform or e-commerce site. And once you have a product, it doesn't have to be multiple products, but if you have multiple products, then or one product or service, you can promote this on your own vendor account and like a vendor storefront. You'll be added to the GFG vendor business directory, of which I think there is currently at the moment about 160 or so. Not a huge amount, but that's also because they've as I said, asked the new accounts to be held from opening up at the moment because they needed to make some technical changes. Now that was a week or so ago, week and a half ago, so maybe that's different now. I completely agree, and Anna and Hunter, they would be all for people educating themselves on how we can actually start, really preparing ourselves for trading. I mean, I have multiple products. I've been asking about this myself because of great interest, and there's a lot of people here that have even ideas. So there is going to be an emphasis on that topic moving forward. On every webinar, we will have a set amount of time to discuss the business end of things, the difference between incorporated, unincorporated, or those that have an idea and how to bring it to the market, and those that want to know the ins and outs of what GFG have provided. And they have put a huge emphasis on the business end of things. In fact, it was what Hunter had initially planned until Anna, in her wonderful compassion, said we need to open this up for everybody directly. Hunter's idea was, instead of having to deal directly with everybody, which is obviously 8 billion people, he wanted to focus on the business end of things and getting enough businesses and corporations to come onto the land and soil and to use the vendor system and the exchange, the monetary exchange system, lawful monetary exchange system they've set up. And then through that, then they would utilize the actual businesses and the corporations that have transitioned to use their infrastructure to support the people, like the everyday people, the customers, the members. But Anna said, no, we need to focus on getting directly to the people and providing the relief. And that's obviously the type of woman she is. But the emphasis, she recognizes that the business has to be a priority. So I would be, what I'm proposing moving forward, I said this on the slide deck that I shared, that we're going to set up separate groups off the back of this. This is what I'm proposing, and what I also mentioned to Anna about, is that we could have our own international business community or group that is just focused on those that have a business or want to start a business, want to learn about the unincorporated business end of things, learn about the vendor and the technology that GFG have. And that group would meet obviously on an interim basis. So Katja, you would definitely be suitable for that. So I will be following up with the if there's more people that are interested in that, you might just say yes in the chat, and we will get a group going just to focus on the business end of things. I do know that Nitty has her own podcast on a Saturday. Now I jokingly said this to Nitty, but I thought it was specifically for businesses that want to go unincorporated, but it's become more of an open-ended, very good webinar or meeting. But I'm talking about just having a group and meetings that were just focused on the business end of things. So if you are interested in that, you just please put a yes in, and we can get a group going just specifically for that. Anybody else have their hand up before I get back to account to account? We're still waiting on, if you mean account to account in terms of those on the vendor network, and those being able to transfer and send, whether it's friend AFD or transfer AFD, they disabled that actually. I don't know if those knew. About a year and a half ago, I'd found about a group of 12 investors. And I use that word, not hiding that word. They are investors. I had my own investor network going for a few years. and I had been educating them on what was going on, and they were interested in exchanging their fiat for AFD. So we did a test at the time to people to see if they could actually just do a very simple one AFD transfer to somebody else. I did it myself, and it worked. But they disabled that, so they're not ready. They're not ready, or they weren't ready at the time. So I believe it's still deactivated. I don't believe we can actually do any account-to-account transfer yet at the moment, but that is going to open up very soon. Okay, I've got a good few yeses on that. Lovely, lovely. So we're going to get a business group going then. Still deactivated. Thanks, Ali. So anyone else there on the prosperity end of things before we move on to the healing end of things and the med beds? And don't worry, I haven't, not trying to avoid any of those questions. If I can't answer them, we'll get back to you. And I'll do my best to answer whatever I can. So if there's no other questions, I think if people are ready just to hear some updates on the med beds. I'm sure there are. Okay, someone's still trying to get in there. Okay, situation with the med beds, right? I interviewed a guy 4 years ago. You may have seen his name going around at the time. I think it's called the Sovereign Space Soldier or Space Soldier. I forgot his name because I believe he changed the profile name. So at the time I had my own radio show. Actually, this was 5 years ago now, 5.5 years ago, and I heard about med beds back then, and I heard about these extraterrestrial, interplanetary technology that the Deep Space Secret Space Program. Again, this is all just what I heard. I didn't have any verification, and that there was a guy that alleged was an astronaut who claimed after interviewing. He told me we signed an agreement. I promised him. He said you cannot make this public. Yes, and I'll let you know when you can make this public. So that was the agreement I had, and but from that, obviously things have pushed on since. So I can obviously share what I learned, and from that I started to undertake and do my own research. But his claims, along with he had a small group of other astronauts that claimed through the Deep Space Secret Program or Secret Space Program, excuse me. One second. Through that program, obviously that's all top secret, and NASA, of course, at the heart of it, and people at the very top. That he claimed that all these other planets that they claimed haven't been visited have been visited, and intelligence and med beds were used by these astronauts, and these astronauts, including him, were their whole bodies and cells were regenerated every time they finished a mission. And excuse me, you've got a frog in your throat all of a sudden. So that mission then, every time there was a mission, it was just like they were saying the men in black, they just wiped your memory, as crazy as that may sound. But he said that's what was happening. Now, of course, I found this, I'm very open-minded. I will always be open-minded. But if something doesn't feel right, it normally isn't right. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I just felt maybe there's a bit of truth in this and some not true. But I definitely believe that there was, we all know NASA and all that at the top are as corrupt as all the rest of the corporations. So I firmly believe they were hiding a lot of technology and a lot of, whether it was this advanced, I didn't know. And so his claims where they had evidence to show that this technology was there. They'd other astronauts now that had come forward. Something happened along the way in their last missions where they were able to start remembering things, he said, and it was from that they started to do their digging and found what they had been doing. And the technology, he said, is there. He described it very vividly. Regenerates limbs, regenerates everything, does what is miraculous, and that enabled them to complete multiple missions in multiple regions of our galaxy and so forth. And as crazy that sound, that's what he said is happening, and they've hidden this technology. So that was the first thing I discovered, and then I came across. I went on a mission there for a couple of years on the back end of things to to meet with pioneers, so-called pioneers of med beds and med bed technology, who also were doing their own studies. And then Anna told me, when I met Anna, she told me about this incredible system. It's more of a med bed / med tank system. She's talked about that. I know it firsthand because I was waiting to get my own father, who sadly passed this year, and onto it. And she had planned to get Jim onto it, but he wasn't well enough. So she had Harold and go and test it out. But within this system, you actually it was created by two doctors. Very obviously, doctors are you don't necessarily think they were awake back then, but they wanted to. They were good apples from the beginning. So they created their own technology using mainly analog technology, using all the analog technology, using sound, light, and various frequency to be able to, in the form of a bath, where you go in and this actually flushes out all your parasites and toxins. And the parasites prove, if anyone knows about bioresonance, and I know a bit of bioresonance and all that, but parasites are at the heart of disease in the body. And so this, when I heard about what Anna said, this made sense to me. So this flushes out all the toxins, all the parasites first and foremost. It's a 6-month process to do the whole lot. And you first do a remote diagnostic test, which you just need a sample of your fingernail or hair, sorry, and they run that through their tests and then work out, the specific tailored program. But in order to get the full benefits, it's a 6 month. Now you may recall that Anna had talked about Harold, her best friend, going on this, and initially it was incredible results. But you need to keep going on it, as I said, over a 6 month period. I believe one of her very good friends, who she's mentioned as the native Indian Chief Fast Horse. What a great name! So he has I think he's 90 or thereabouts. I could be wrong, 80 or 90. I think he's 90, and he went through the whole shebang, and his biological age reduced significantly by 30 years. Now that's just another form that uses all the highest frequency and technology that we have here. Well, I also then was part of a separate group. Now, this is what Anna has actually shared about, as it turns out, through the Trump administration, and we can all have our views on what and who he really is. So, through the Trump administration, he has opened up the military controlled med beds, and that's what Anna initially spoke about. Now, I was already on a group that knew a good bit about this. I'd already done a good bit of homework. Anna then spoke recently that the Trump and his team were stopping her getting in touch with the general of that med bed distribution, of which there was claimed to be 8 million of these units. Now, we don't know yet if they're technology that's used some of this other extraterrestrial or technology that the sovereign space soldier and other astronauts claimed is being hidden, or if this is something completely different. However, I've been privy now to information. I'm going to go through this. I received information during the week about where these locations are. Not all of the locations, but there's about 100 different locations of where these med beds are. I have got this just through my own insider information, and I have communicated with this information to Anna. Her hands are tied in terms of talking to the head guy, the general of this rollout of the med beds. But based on all of that, there is access to med beds. How much and how to what extent they will treat everything and all the various, I do not know yet, but I do know locations. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to set up there is a group there called the Olive Branch Med Beds. I've been distinctly not posting updates on that because I wanted to wait and got something more concrete. So there is Olive Branch Healing Centres, which is something I've been working on the background for a number of years in memory of my own mother, whose name was Olive. She was just pure unconditional love and compassion and faith to everybody that she came in touch with. So there was no better name for it. And she helped bring peace and reconciliation to all. You'd all have fallen in love with her. So there was no better woman to to name this after, and I wanted to do something in her memory after the horrible way she was treated at the end and how she passed, and which is a story I will be getting out there. But so the Olive Branch Healing Centres we've got kind of partners lined up in 7 countries, so we're looking for more people. These Olive Branch Healing Centres will also, and this is where I'm pushing, is that there will be a med bed units in each of these Olive Branch centres. So between Anna, between what I've discovered, between the contacts, between the information now I have in relation to the military med beds, the contacts that I have in relation to these outer galaxy other technology and med beds, between Anna's incredible technology in Colorado, which is where these 2 doctors' technology is, and the plan is the funding that comes through from is also going to bring that technology all over the world as well. So the Olive Branch Medbed group, Healing and Medbed, is where you'll get all the latest information regarding that. But in relation to healing, I want to also let you know about something very powerful that everybody can do. That we're going to start. If people are not aware, our hands are the most, one of the most, if not the most powerful electromagnetic transmitters. Every minute, every second of every day, your hands are a channel of the electromagnetic energy, and once you do certain processes every day, you can do just a 5 to 10 minute process every day. You can actually activate your hands through your heart. And your heart chakra. I know Katja and others would know about this through Reiki. But Anna sent me an incredible video a while ago. She knows how connected I am with this, and she's very, very connected on the healing. And her son, Eric, who I'm actually planning to have a conversation with for the first time, he's very much a shy guy. We're in the background. He's doing exactly to giving his mom hands-on healing, because he has the gift of hands-on healing. I used it myself, didn't realize the gift I had until, my mother's determined 12 tumors on her 2 lungs disappeared in the space of 3 months, and when she was on no chemo or radiation. So he's doing the same for Anna, and it's clearly working. She had serious back issues, and that's why she's able to do the squats now. And so he's definitely helping her in more ways than one. But she sent me a video. And when Anna sends a video, most of the time it doesn't have any text. She just says, in other words, figure this out for yourself. So I realized when I watched this, wow, this made so much sense. So I'm going to talk to Katja and a couple of others after this, because we want. I think Anna's idea is that those who have the gifts of hands-on healing, we need to not only join together, obviously, and this is where we have another group going. To help share that healing energy, but this is actually going to teach people how to use their hands as the most powerful electromagnetic transmitters. And this video, which I will share, I've been waiting for the moment to do this, because it initially was for me. She said this is for you, and she said this video will explain the mechanics of how those that have the gifts of hands-on healing, how it works, and it really was incredible. So I'm going to share that to the healing group, and at the moment we have the Olive Branch, which is more in relation to the healing centres and the med beds, but I will share it on that and the video. But I'm going to get together with those who are interested in as well. And I know Katja runs her own, and Uwe run her own very powerful group meditation that I've been privileged when I was going through some really difficult time last year, really difficult time, probably one of the most difficult I've gone through. So and that was incredibly beneficial for me, and I full gratitude for her and Uwe for that. And so I'm going to talk to Katja about how we could start, and this is my guidance, because I believe everybody has the power. We all have the power. And there is probably a few more here that don't realize they have the gifts of hands-on healing. And it's not just how it heals you from a physical and emotional, spiritual basis. It's how you can actually help you to become in alignment with your true frequency through the Creator. And that can start to allow you to be a channel for abundance and incredible things, the right people to come into your life and everything. And that's done through the power of your hands. So I'm going to set up, I'm going to ask some questions, open that floor up there in relation to the whole healing. If anybody wants to ask any questions on the healing end of things. Dr. Stephen Greer knows about us. Stephen Greer. Who's Stephen Greer, Katana? Aging healer in Tanzania. I have, is that, you know who Stephen Greer is? I don't know.
Yes, Tony, he's the guy that's leading the whole alien story and making contacts with the ships and so on. Quite.
Oh, wonderful. Well, does somebody know how to get in touch with him?
As far as I know, he has an institution. I will Google it for you and send you the information.
Super. So there's a lot. I know there's a lot of people interested in the healing. So Anna's very much interested in this. One of the areas that she's very interested in, I want to add, is the music and sound frequency and how we need to turn the Rockefeller perverted music frequency into real whole tone music. So she asked me to, as I shared with catching a few others, a video which I have shared, I think, on the channel, an incredible organist, Ben in England, who I made contact with, and how somebody that he found out used the birds, songs of the birds, nature, in this particular, I think it's the bird song, and this guy helped to turn real music or real sounds from nature, from the birds, into into the right frequency, tone, and music. And then he used his intelligence to turn it in through his organ into incredible music, which I shared. So her vision is that we create a group of musical healers, she calls them, or I think no, I call them musical healers, musicians, and those who are able to play any instrument, sing any song, and those that we want to gather to actually recreate existing music into whole tone music frequency, of the right frequency, and also make new music. So Anna wants to get completely behind this. So I'm not really sure that in its own right that deserves to have its own group. And she's really behind this. She's behind the frequency healing systems, the med beds. She's behind the whole tone music. Very much she believes that we should have our own radio networks and shows. So we have an opportunity there. I don't know if Helen Taylor is here, but Helen very kindly interviewed me recently on her Inspired Radio show, which is a show on the Dom and his twin brother in Australia, or Australis. They're twin brothers who created the BBS, very awake guys, and they have offered a slot for us to start using their network and to actually get our whole tone music or whatever content we want. So, and they are on over 100 platforms, I think. So we would be able to reach a lot of people very quickly. And but anyway, I would like also to invite anyone who wants to be involved in the whole tone healing music, let's say, initiative as well. We will be putting this information out on Tony Talk so that we can get individual people to join this group. But Anna very much has said that she's behind this. Any questions? Any more questions on the healing end of things? Somebody did ask something there. I'm just trying to see it. Can we have access to med beds in Australia? Yeah, I've been given a list of about 100 locations, and all the main countries where the assemblies are, the locations are all included. That's what I can say. But I was only given this during the week, and I haven't had an awful lot of time to look into this. I'm trying to get validation in relation to what's going on in these locations. Some of them don't have any names. It's just a country associated. Others have names. So I have to do a bit of an investigation in this, and I'm inviting others to help me with this, the information that I get, to start doing some investigation into these. So there's about 101 lists. There's about half of those there's about 65 of those have names in terms of locations, not exact locations. and others that don't have locations, but they're seemingly secret locations at the moment. They can't be made shared yet. This information, I was told, is still not properly out in mainstream because the mainstream obviously don't want to know about it yet. But if this is being controlled by Trump, I'm pretty sure we're going to hear about this in the mainstream. And I would question, which is what Anna's point is, she's not sure what side of the fence this technology is on. So we need to be very careful in relation to whatever technology. I'm fully behind the technology that the two doctors have created in Colorado, because Anna validates this. I'm also behind other technology, but anything relating to the American military and Trump, you would have to have grave concerns about, for obvious reasons. However, that doesn't mean, as Anna said, it doesn't mean they cannot help people, but we need to do more investigation. So I'm going to be inviting people to join in doing investigations into these locations. And there's seemingly 8.1 million units that have been dispersed or distributed into these locations. I don't know if these are all the locations, but there's 100 countries. Sorry, no, there's not. There's about 75 countries, and a couple of countries, some countries have more than one location. So, any questions on that? You ready? Does frequency healing? I'm just trying to read some of this. I can go with the hands-on healing reds. Okay, so the hands-on healing, I will come back to you through the Tony Talk channel on this, because I've been working on this myself after Anna sent the video, and I've had a couple of discussions with her, because it was initially, as I said, just for me in relation to helping me and what I was doing. But from that, so many incredible things have sparked. And I believe we can actually help teach this to anyone in the assemblies or those connected. And this information came, Anna, the video came from an incredible Japanese guy. Of course, a lot of it comes from Japanese, who was suppressed. And he had discovered the power of the hands, the power of how the hands can create so much incredible things in her life, and not just healing. And as usual, just like Tesla and others, he was suppressed, and he was stopped when, access to funding and being recognized, the usual BS. But I believe everybody should have the opportunity to learn this information, and Anna does too. So to answer your question, we will come back to you on getting anyone else involved in that. We have resonance and frequency equipment to help. Who's that, Vic? If you wouldn't mind, if you're too shy or don't want to speak, no problem. You can just put it in the text. Can you provide Anna's location in Colorado medbed? Yes, I will do that. Let me just take note of that. Now, on that, well, actually, I need to speak to Anna first. They're very, very wary. These guys were offered, would you believe, 1 trillion from investors. The doctors were offered 1 trillion in cash, and this is what Anna's told me, to actually purchase all the technology in one lump sum. When they did their homework on these investors, you're probably not surprised to hear that they were working on behalf of the pharmaceuticals, and so they refused it. Now you could imagine refusing 1 trillion in cash. What that tells you more about these guys. So on the basis of that, they're very, very wary. I'd gone to Anna in relation to a couple of others that I knew were very interested in helping, because they were looking for about $250 million in funding. My understanding is the plan is when Anna asked me recently, am I going to come over and get that Olive Branch Center? Because that's one of the places in Alaska set up, and this would be also a collaboration with the guys in Colorado, and possibly bring their technology over to Alaska and then to the rest of the world. So I will find out if I can share the location. They had been shut down in where they were for obvious reasons, and then they were working out of a big, massive farm and a big farmhouse, would you believe? And I'm sure you would believe, because they obviously were having miraculous benefits for people, and they shut them down, the usual stuff. So that's why they needed big help and funding. But I will share what I can on that. Yeah, no problem, Ricardo, in terms of showing how this all work. No problem, Mike. Thanks. Is there anybody else that wants to ask anything or put any ideas? Or if you have any products on the healing end of things, please step forward. Katja, do you want to add anything? Because I know you're very heavily involved in this.
Well, yeah, we have a group, but it's in German. We should open another group in English, but we need to know if there are people that are interested in doing this. Otherwise, when they don't come or whatever, it's a little bit complicated. So it has to be people that really need it. No?
Absolutely, yeah. Is there anybody has any product? I'm just looking here now. Somebody says look into Radiant Life Technologies. This is from Francois. I hope I've got the name right. They pioneered camera tech therapy. I've never heard of that. Products like water. Oh yeah, water structuring is very, very, very important. Coasters and wave cells for cell phones and other. So the idea is by partnering with the guys in Colorado, when the banks gets opened up, we are going to be looking at obviously they have bats which obviously use structure, and if you have the right frequency, obviously as we know, around or in the water, that can structure the water. So we're going to be actually looking at even expanding that to actually bring in structured water bats that we can actually provide for people's homes. And so you can lie in these baths and they can actually clean you and cleanse you. I do know that there's a bath salt detox as well, which is incredible. I know it's helped me heal a bad skin reaction I had there a few years ago. But that was obviously in the water. So we're going to get the healing group going. We're going to get the business prosperity and business side group going. Every week we're going to have updates. This is not just going to be me talking now in future. I'm going to get much more interactive, and we're going to have special guests coming onto the show. And then there will be a landing page that you put your details in that will be shared that will allow you to join the overall group, which will be Tony Talks webinars. So you'll always get a link to your email as well as on the channels when the next one is. But it's going to be every Sunday for the moment at this time. And also then details on the new groups that are forming off the back of that. Is there anybody want to talk anything else? Any ideas, suggestions? Even groups that they're part of in relation to healing or the prosperity side of things? Low forms are used to structure water. We have a structured water product certified by Dr. Masuro Emoto signed. Very good. Right. Well, yeah, that's interesting. So thank you for that. So I just want to quickly touch on the assemblies. So we have there's approximately 70 odd assemblies now. I think I'm not sure the exact figure. We're going to be refining things, and Wednesday we're meeting the INEC coordinates a meeting to try and really refine things and get up to date information. And we're turning INEC into a formal alliance which has been planned for a while, like a confederation, and outside of America. So there's work going on in the background regarding that. So as I was talking to Anna and Adrian, we can turn everything upside down and help their system to crash if we had enough numbers, whether that be, and this is why they're working on both, or he's working on the legal, commercial, admiralties and maritime side of things to help get the individuals together to actually help crash the system, so to speak. Not crash the system in a negative way, but take the assets back into the people's hands, which will be capitalized in GFG. So, but it's been made clear to me if we can get the numbers, which obviously I've said we can't get really the numbers unless we have the funding for the assemblies, so it's a bit of a chicken and egg scenario, but it has been reiterated to me, and I've said, well, we need to simplify the message. So that's one thing that you will have before our next call. I'll be sharing a summary of how everybody, no matter who it is, can actually share what it is we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. In other words, the problem, the solution, and how we're achieving what we're achieving. So this is just a short summary that anybody can share to anybody else, and this will allow us to help bring in more people because it's very hard to explain in most circumstances everything we're doing in a minute or so, and that's what this summary will do. So I'm just looking at vendor global, right? Bettina has shared a link there if people want to click it. It's in relation to the vendored water. Very good. This is structured water, hexagonal water. Oh, this is wonderful. This is on global. Oh, wonderful. So somebody
Yes,
has
it is.
already.
It is on global vendors business.
Very good. Okay. So this is a vendor account, is it?
Correct. It's a vendor account.
Wonderful. So is this available for purchase?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So that's saved me a bit of hassle in showing things. So ultimately, here you have an example of a vendor account being set up on the basis of a real product that can be traded to the community. So that's fantastic to see. So I believe there's about 156 of these,
Thank you very much.
of these type of vendor accounts. Is there any, I know there's burning questions in relation to kind of land recording accounts, publishing. There is, they have, Hunter made a decision to stop, deactivate a lot of land recording secretary, what's called System 2 admin accounts. I just want to say this because of security risks. It's something that he feels very highly of because they're constantly bombarded by bots, AI bots, hacking attempts for obvious reasons. So if there's any accounts that have been lying idle, and even I had that situation after, when my father passed, I wasn't active in my account, so I had the same issue. Now I've obviously looked into this as a result. So, but Hunter made a decision that was above Joshua. I went to Joshua and asked him about this. So there is only a handful, believe it or not, of land recording secretaries that System 2 that can help support people on all of the tools, including up to creation of AFD master accounts. So they're getting through an incredible amount of work. Excuse me, this is all nearly voluntary work and people's time. So that some of you will already know some of the names, such as Carol and Christine Martin. Carol would be one of the few that has full access to all the tools. She's been a blessing and a help in many ways. But there's only so many of those. So I have communicated with Anna, an up-to-date, because I'm not sure if she even knows that, an up-to-date situation of where things are at, in terms of the, let's say, backlog. I'm just looking at the most recent one here, if people are interested in knowing. If you bear with me 1 second. Okay, so let me see 1 second. If people have any questions on the land recording side of things, please do.
Do you know, Tony, if there are courses for recording secretaries?
Well, there was, yeah. So there is a training that you can do. Initially, when I asked to be a land recording secretary, Josh sent me the information that people have to read up and understand, get to know. And when you feel comfortable, then if you feel ready, he will set you up with an account. But this is where it comes to it. It's one thing about having the information, another thing about putting the time into it. And so that's where, a lot of accounts were closed down, and some were not too happy about it because they were active and then they couldn't. But there is training available, but they're not providing any. You can do the training, I believe, still, and I can share the training materials with people if they're interested. But they're
Yes,
not
please.
setting up any land recording admin accounts at the moment. So that has to be looked at because as we, especially when the what you call it, the assets conversion is opened up. there's going to be a huge influx, obviously, when people find out about it. So that is being looked into. So if anyone is interested, I will get the training materials to you, but just know that they're not accepting any new land recording admin accounts at the moment.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because you can subscribe and then they call you when there are enough people that have asked for it.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine. Yeah, I haven't been told when they're if or when they're going to do that. I've just been told that it's stopped, and there's nobody being accepted. But as Carol said, and as she sent me an email, which I sent to Anna, you know, there's a lot of pressure being put on the few who can do all of this, and when there's so many people actually setting up accounts and all that, and being it needs to have more land recording secretary admins. But I will share the training materials I have so that if people whoever is interested. So well, this is recorded. We'll put the minutes together and any actions and follow it up. There's going to be a weekly call, as I said, and as we progress, we might do this more, maybe twice a week as we progress if need be, but definitely on a Sunday. Any more questions or comments or ideas or suggestions before we wrap up?
Could Global Family Group announce the courses in Tony Talks? Every time there's training for coordinators, for land recording secretaries, for ombuds, for whatever. And do you think that would be possible to connect that Global can send you? We're opening this course so people can know.
Well, they probably won't do it directly to me, but I can share from the official GFG land recording secretaries team. So I have access to when they get the information or new information or modules, I can just simply share from that. So I'll post in there but I do know that the Prosperity Tools is going live. Yes, there's a few other ones that you will have seen on the educational portal. That everybody is asked or kind of expected to now have an educational a Harmony Alliance educational admin account. And if you have any problems with that, I do know Carol now. I don't want to bombard Carol because she's got a huge amount of work on. But if there are just people within this webinar who are stuck, you can feel free to get in touch in relation to anything regarding your account. Get in touch with me, and I'll kind of look at which ones that can be helped, and I'll pass them on to Carol. And in the meantime, I will share whatever I get from the official GFG recording secretaries team. Is there anything else? I hope this is going to start helping people. I do recognize a lot of people were getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated and people getting frustrated, if I'm honest. So I'm now at that point where I think, look, we are the ones who can bring things together ourselves and help each other. So every week, Sunday, we'll have this. There will be follow-ups done very kindly as Mary and Sharissa are co-hosting this to help, and they'll help as I'm moving forward. I see there's 70 odd. I don't know what it got to, but that's a decent start. I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot more as we go along. So there'll be a recap, a recording. We'll send you the link on the Tony Talks channel. There will be minutes and possibly a transcript, but definitely the recording and the transcript. And we will follow up with we'll send you the link to the landing page, which will have we ask everybody just to put in their basic information there, and that means you're on the list to get the links to the webinars and to the groups and everything else. So this week you'll see that landing page link just to enter your details, and then you'll be asked to choose which groups that you want to be a part of in terms of the healing, the business, GFG, Assemblies, self-governance, and those four main groups, and the whole tone music. That's a very important one. Anna's made it clear that she wants to see that. She wants to see that going global. You'd imagine if we have our own radio, people in doing their own radio shows online all over, and all this incredible high whole tone music is going out. You know, it's just going to be so, so powerful, you know. And she believes a lot of the young people will come forward when they hear about this, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tony.
No problem. So if there's no other questions or no other comments, anything I've missed, we'll follow up on. But thank you very much, everybody, for your time. I wanted this leave this at an hour and a half at the most. So if there's nothing else burning, we will see you next week.
Thanks, Tony.
No problem.
Thanks,
God bless
Tony.
everybody. We'll follow up.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Tony.
time.
Thank you.
It's brilliant.
Night,
Take care.
Thank you for your time.
God bless. Take care.
Take care, Tony. God bless.
God bless. Bye bye.
Bye, Tony.